Well, welcome back. Welcome back,
Okay,
guys.
just whenever
Sorry,
you're ready. Water.
sorry, sorry it took so long, but the thing called life
I'm
got
gonna go
in the
sit
way.
downstairs.
We just had so
Life
we just
happens.
had so many. Yeah, life happens. It just combination of our work schedule and life, and with the holidays so close. So this is our third version of Brothers from the CLE. Our first show you can find on YouTube was the top 20 of the last 50 years of the best teams in Cleveland. And our second show was the first part of the top 20 players in the last 50 years from 1970 to 2020 in Cleveland. So again, welcome back to the brothers from the CLE. I want to thank Steve's son Graham for hanging with us, and for Rich. We had several technical difficulties, but we got it all figured out. As you can see, I'm not in my studio because it's about 32 degrees here in northeastern Ohio. So today is December 17th, 2020. It's looking forward to 2021. I'm just gonna say this: if you live long enough in this life, you're gonna lose things. You're gonna lose people, lose friendships, relationships. So let me just say this: I look forward to 2021. Well,
Absolutely.
without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and recap Brothers from the CLE, our second show. We'll go through 20 through 11, and then after we do that, we'll go ahead and go 10 through 1 and finish this up. But due to time constraints, this will be a lot shorter than the other two versions, and we'll just have to do a little condensing. So,
Real quick too. So before we do the 11 through 20, 20 through 11, one guy I want to honor real quick. Okay, so in our lifetime, you're older than me. Okay, so technically during your life, at least Jim Brown was playing, right? Talking about Hall of Famers, and it's somebody that we didn't put in our honorable mention. I want to put him in there. Guy that played during our life, because think about NFL Hall of Famers during our lifetime that played with Jim Brown. Um, Groza was still around. Yeah, and Ozzie, hopefully Clay, who's a finalist. But the only other guy that we didn't mention, we didn't put him in honorable mention, but he did play from 1970 to 1973, and I'm going to honor him here real quick. Is you got Leroy Kelly, number 44 from Oregon State. Time of his retirement, he was fourth in the history of NFL. So this is my year 5 or year 6 Christmas present with my name on it. And went to the game, his last game against the Steelers, and my dad got me that and the 1972 Browns done it. So we didn't honor it or talked about him in our honorable mention, but I kind of figured since he's one of the only Hall of Famers we ever technically saw, want to add him in. So there you go, Rich. Sorry about that.
real quick, Steve, what years did Leroy Kelly play?
He played from
Did he play?
63, 64 to 73. He was a great punt returner, but back then he's behind Bobby Mitchell, Ernie Green, Jim Brown. He couldn't play. So he led the NFL, NFC in punt returns his first 4 years, and he was a third down back, came in, gained some yards. Jim Brown left after the 65 season, after we lost to Green Bay in the NFC Championship game. We'd won the World Championship, beating the Colts 27-0 in 64. So the next year, 66, 67, Leroy Kelly led the league in rushing. Led the league in rushing those 2 years. And through from 66 to 72, he didn't really play a lot in 73. He was in the top 3 in NFC, because remember, we were one of the teams, along with Pittsburgh, that went from NFC to AFC to give it more legitimacy. But he was first, second, or third in the rushing for 4 consecutive years from 1966 to 70. He was a great back. I mean, you look at his yardage and go, wow, he only gained like 6,700 yards. Remember, 14 games a year back then. And his first 3, 4 years, he really didn't play a lot. But he was a Hall of Famer, and he did play during our lifetime. Jim Brown played during yours. You were what, a year old, I guess, right? Because he played 64, 65. I wasn't born yet. So, but just want to give a shout out to Leroy Kelly, somebody that we forget, and had a great. I think he averaged 4.6 yards per carry out of Morgan State, and Hall of Famer. And his brother played for the Indians, Pat Kelly. So there you go.
Okay, so we're good. Some call us very good. We're not perfect. We missed out on Leroy Kelly. He's a Cleveland Browns Hall of Famer, NFL Hall of Famer, one of the few we've had basically in our lifetime. But the chunk the chunk of his
60s.
career was in the 60s. Was he though he was on the roster for the 70, 73. So again, shout out to number 44, Leroy Kelly, Morgan State, Baltimore, Maryland. Okay, so appreciate that, Steve. So let's go on and recap our 20 through 11. And the top, again, this is the second edition, the second part of our top 20 players in the last 50 years from 1970 to 2020 in Cleveland. So we started with number 20, Kevin Mouse McFadden from Cleveland State. Led Cleveland State 1986 to the Elite Eight. Was all time He's the all time leading scorer in the defunct mid continent conference, and he was number 20. Then we went with Jerry Shirk, defensive tackle, 1972, number 72, and played on the 1973 team that almost beat the Miami Dolphins, the perfect Miami Dolphins. Would have had a long career, but he ran into some injuries late in life,
Yep.
late in his NFL career. And then we had number 18, CC Sabathia. Though he had some big success with other teams, he had great success also with the Cleveland Indians. So he's number 18. Then we went with number 17, Tom Darden from Sandusky, Ohio, and from that team up north, and from the Cleveland Browns. As a rookie, he led the NFL in interceptions and was a Pro Bowler his rookie year. He led the league in interceptions as a rookie with 9. So he was number 17.
An all-time interception later in history of the Browns with 45. And
Then we went with
not
number
close.
16. Then we went with number 16, Mr. Cavalier, Austin Carr. What can you say? The first overall pick in the Cleveland Cavaliers wine and gold organization. Not the first overall pick of the year, but the first overall pick of the organizations for Notre Dame. Scored what 61 on Ohio University in the NCAA tournament without a 3-point line. One quick story about AC, so different. We just had a couple last month. We just had the NBA draft. And I told you before, he was in class at Notre Dame, and someone opened the door and said, "Hey, Austin, you've been drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers while he's in class," and that's how he found out. Then we go with number 15. Um, had a good sandwich, but he was a great player also. The MDP, Michael Dean Perry, defensive tackle. If you remember Michael Dean, I still think he was better. He didn't have
Oh,
publicity of his other brother, but he was clearly better. And this
way
lined up
better.
slanted and just split that A gap and got to the quarterback. Michael Dean Perry, the Clemson Tigers, Cleveland Browns. Then we went for number 14, Albert Bell. Him and him and Babe Ruth, the only two men in the World Series, only two men to hit 50-50. He had 2 home runs in the 95 World Series. He had 50 home runs and 50 doubles, Mr. Albert Bell. Then we mentioned before there's 2 groups we just couldn't separate these players. So we went number 13, Hanford Dixon and Frank Middlefield. We put them together. Number 13 started the dog pound. Um, Was it Top Dog and Mighty Dog? For the '80s, guys, if you want to talk about, there can only be one set of sort of defensive backs that can compare to Hanford Dixon and Frank Minifield when they're at their tops, and that's Lester Hayes and Mike Haynes at Oakland Raiders. So they were number 13. Then Francisco Lindor is number 12. Looks like his days are numbered in red, white, and blue for the Cleveland Indians, soon to be called the Cleveland
Huh.
Baseball Club. That's for that another that's an, for another day, another discussion for another day. We could talk about that forever. So that was number 12.
I know.
Then we go then our last pair, we just couldn't separate them. It was Mark Price from Eden, Oklahoma. Did the Rambling Wreck from Georgia Tech, Mark Price, number 25.
Great team there too,
Never
huh?
played in the They had a
John
good
Sally.
team. They beat North Carolina 3 times that year. Beat them in the regular season, but the ACC
Price, John
championship game,
Sally.
which
Was it Bruce Ripple, I guess, right? Head coach
Bruce Dalrymple, John
Bo-
Farrell, John Sally,
Bobby
um,
Cremens.
yeah, Bobby Crimmins. He's a great coach, a great recruiter. Went him to New York City, got Sally, got Darryl Ripple, and brought him down to Atlanta, and kind of like to see. I always like Georgia Tech's basketball program. Like to see that come back. And then, so he was paired up with from the Black Hills of North Carolina. These two guys couldn't be any more different. A big NASCAR fan, Brad Doherty, 7-footer of North Carolina Tar Heel. So he was number 11. So that's our recap of 20 through 11. And so again, we have a disclaimer. This is our list, doesn't necessarily have to be your list. So we're going to start with number 10. Now, Steve and I have two, we're not going to call them disagreements. We're going to call them discussions. One of those discussions
Is this guy?
is Baker Mayfield. And then one of this, okay, is Baker Mayfield. Though I'm happy
You
to
coming around?
lose,
Coming around.
be wrong on this as we come around. Currently, while we're recording, the Cleveland Browns are 9-3 and are playing the New York Football Giants Sunday night on national TV. Bumped America's team for the
The
world's
world's
team.
team, exactly.
So we're the world's team. Um, we get the greatest ratings.
Did you see the
Any
rate? Did you
any
see the?
any, any
Did you see the ratings? Did you see the ratings in Cleveland? 39.8 share. That's
Okay.
insane.
So 40%, 4 of the 10 TVs that were on were watching the Cleveland Browns.
It's crazy. And
And the other ones are
Columbus,
probably
it was 3 out of 10.
so probably the other ones had their TV on and was just sleeping in bed, so the TV is watching them.
Yep.
But so that's Baker Mayfield, though Stefanski is really putting him in the right place. He is one of our disagreements. Then
But he's not in the
we go
list.
to our number. He
Clearly.
might be in the next 50 when we do our next 50 when we're both 100 and something.
Sure.
So this is another disagreement is number 10, Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, we all know of the shot, but this is the shot that we always want to remember. Why he stabbed Curry in the face with 3, game 7, after coming back from a 3-1. Kyrie Irving, dad played for Boston University. Kyrie from Duke, actually was born in Australia. Played 8 or 9 games for Duke. To me, and then I'll pass on to Steve. I got to see Tiny Nate Archibald. I got to see a little bit of Pete Maravich. I got to see Ernie DiVigario. I got to see Calvin Murphy,
Footsie Walker.
Footsie Walker, Allen Iverson. So these are all the guys, other than Pete, who are great ball handlers, great finishers. But I can't say that any of those players were better finishers under the rim, non-dunking, than Kyrie Irving. Um, always be embedded with him, indebted to Kyrie. Kyrie is just a different type of brother. You know how his approach to things, and on I think that's going to be a detriment to his career. I mean, now him and Durant are teaming up. Both vagabonds are teaming up with Brooklyn. We'll see how that works out. You know, if things don't go his way, he just flares off.
Well,
So our disagreement has nothing to do with his playing ability. It might have to do with his shot selection. But I'm going to pass this off to Steve. And like I said, due due to uh, due to time constraints, we're going to do these top 10 quickly. But I'll pass off Kyrie Irving, number 10
okay.
on our
So
list.
in his 7-year career here, 6-time All-Star, All-Star Game MVP, second team All NBA 1 year. One of only two sets of players to ever score 40 in a finals game. He and LeBron, I think, the one was Jerry
41,
West. Yeah. Oh, but over 40.
41.
Yeah, but it was over
Yeah,
40.
41 games.
Right. But
Yes.
he and LeBron scored over 40, and the only ones else that did that like that was Jerry West and Elgin Baylor back, I think, in 70. Great player. Thinks the world is flat. I don't know. I mean, I agree with LeBron. He has a potential and he has the ability to be an MVP. But his world revolves a little bit differently. And why he wanted to leave the situation with LeBron that they had it made. I mean, I think we'd have. I don't know if LeBron had stayed or not, but we would have. I think in 2018 he stays. I think we beat the Warriors, but um, obviously we didn't. And great player, no question. Probably deserves to be on here. Olympic gold medalist, great 101. To be honest with you, in the history of the Cavs, if you had somebody to take one shot, probably him. He's not afraid of the moment, that's for sure. For sure. And that shot he made where he did the against Curry was unbelievable. I mean, he attacked Curry all game 6 and 7. And like I said before, even in 15 before he got hurt, he was killing Curry, killing him.
Well,
An
Ty Lue
assassin.
called a timeout, set it up.
Well, and LeBron, if you watch that LeBron on road tripping, he said that he went to Ty Lue and said, "You need to get it to the kid. Kid, let the kid take it." That's true. So Kyrie Irving deserves to be on here. He's just he's a different cat.
Right. Yeah. So what what I forgot to talk about was our list is based on moments, performance, accolades, including Hall of Fame, All Stars, All Pro, All League, and so no bigger moment in the last 50 years in Cleveland sports
And these are
than
and,
than the
and
block and the shot.
well,
There was no
hey,
bigger. I
and
mean,
the stop, Kevin Love. But you're talking about 5, 6, and 7 games, 5, 6, and 7. You tell me two teammates that played better collectively and over. Forget one game, 3 games than LeBron
game
and Kyrie.
six,
Game
game
5, 6,
six,
and 7, they were insane.
game
Well,
six at home, they scored 80, combined 82 points together. So that's number 10, Kyrie Irving, currently with the Brooklyn Nets. Really. So we're gonna go. You see, Steve has his Yahoo on.
Sorry, probably not politically
That's
correct, but that's
that's
okay. Could be the spiders,
he's
the
not
rockers, the walleye, the midgies.
he's not. We're gonna be the Cleveland Baseball Club for quite a while, I think.
I don't know.
So that's actually a throwback right now, the Yahoo. But you see, if you look closely, he's got his block C. Along with I have my block C. I don't
I
know if you
know.
can see it.
We
I have my block C. My youngest son went to Kent State, and I had a Kent State night. So they used block C with the Kent State colors.
Nice.
That's only Indians had a hat, and you can see I went to the '97 All Star game
Nice.
at as the Jake and Sandy Alomar was the All Star that, so I have my homage All Star 1970 All
Oh, is that a
Star
new one?
the with the
It's a new one?
no
Old?
no this is '97 this is
Right, right, right,
'97
right.
this is yeah, the toothbrushes on it,
I know.
toothbrush
I
the
had that
toothbrush
same
lights.
shirt, but I wore it so much I wore it out.
Right, right. So we're gonna go with I'm embarrassed to say I don't even know his first name. Kluber.
Corey
Kluber.
Kluber.
Corey Kluber. How many Cy Youngs did he
2.
win, Steve?
2 Cy Youngs. He's the only multiple Cy Young winner in the history of the Indians besides, Rapid Robert Feller. 2 Cy Youngs, won 98 games. Have to go in here because of the Cy Youngs. He was top 3 in the Cy Young 4 years. 2017, he led the league in ERA, innings pitched. Won 20 games for us, which we hadn't done forever. And then Cliff Lee won 20, and then Kluber, and he was a great pitcher, and he's a free agent right now. Injuries killed him, or else he might have been up higher on this list. But he really hasn't pitched since 2017 anywhere.
Uh, Cor- Corey Kluber, number 9. It was a big drought. Who was the last guy? Was it Cliff Lee
That
who
won
won 20 games before him?
Cliff Lee,
Huh?
and then Cliff Lee, and then Gaylord Perry. That was it. You're talking about from
Right.
Gaylord
No.
to Cliff Lee. We didn't have anyone. We didn't have anyone. And then
Right.
from Cliff Lee, then it went to Kluber. And that's it. So,
Kluber did it back to back.
yep.
Right.
Yeah, Kluber was a great pitcher. I mean, it was like he was throwing a wiffle
Oh,
ball. I mean, that ball just went everywhere. And then, except for
right.
Game 7, games in 2016, he dominated the Blue Jays. He dominated the Cubs. He just, he just didn't have it. Dominated the Red Sox to begin the deal. Just wore out in Game 7, and then 2017, he actually had his best pitching year. Then went into the playoffs. May have got hurt on his last start of the year, and the Yankees just teed off on him in both Game 1 and Game 5, and came back from
Oh,
2-0 and beat us. And that, be honest with you, 2017 was better than 16. We were just Jay
okay.
Bruce, and yeah, good team.
Corey Kluber. Corey Kluber, number 9 on our list. And then we'll go with number 8, Brian Sipe. Brian Sipe was the 1980 NFL Player of the Year. We, man,
Cardiac
we
kids.
we had. We'll mention this guy. Of course, he's going to be on our list. Um, we'll mention BK later on in our list. But man, those cardiac kids, led by Brian Sipe, it was almost like their strategy was
Get
let's get behind,
behind, come back.
then
Hey,
let's come back in that late third, early in the fourth. Cardiac kids, it's just like you were just like, hey man, let's go outside and play in the first half, and then go inside second half and watch the Cleveland
hey,
Browns and watch Brian Sipe do his magic with Reggie Walker, Dave Logan, the Wizard, Ozzie Newsome. Man,
Greg and Mike
I don't.
Pruitt, Calvin Hill,
Let's see if we can
Charles
go
White.
Calvin Hill, Grant Hill's dad. Let's see if we can go without mentioning. You know what I'm talking about. But I'm gonna drop it off to you, Steve, and give all the statistics of Brian Sipe, number 17, Cleveland Browns. I mean, he
L-
cannot not be on this list.
Let's just look at it this way: all-time leader in touchdowns over Bernie, all-time leader barely over Bernie in yards, only person in our lifetime to get NFL MVP. I mean, what else do you need? You're talking about a 3-year stretch, 79 to 81. He was as good as anybody. I think the 2 best quarterbacks in the league were probably he and Dan Fouts. And tell me what didn't you get a little cardiac kid feel on Sunday night? Little bit. Come
Yeah,
on, little bit. See that? I mean, I had somebody go cardiac kids because that's how they played. They behind, and it was a never. We're not going to lose. until, the thing happened. But in our lifetime, that 79, 80, 81 Browns, and then you had the 85, basically the 89 Browns. I mean, it couldn't get any better. And I'm starting to I've told you this. This is starting to feel to me like the 79 going into 80 right now, and the 85 going to 86. In fact, Tony Grossi kind of talked about it today. This feels like a real fast move going from 85 to 86 with the Browns when they got Lindy and Fonnie in here, and he really went to Bernie's strength. And now we have Kevin Stefanski and Alex Van Pelt doing the same thing with Bake. But Brian was unbelievable. Great player. Tell you a little bit of story. So I was talking to Chad Pennington, right, at a Marshall deal, and he started talking about Paul Hackett. And Paul Hackett was his offensive coordinator, and he was the quarterback coach for Bernie back under Lindy and Fonnie. And he said, yeah, he goes, Paul Hackett used to tell great stories about Brian. I go, what was the story? He goes, they said they get in the game film room, and he would say, Brian, I mean, what are you doing? That's your third read. I mean, you have to go first, second, whatever. And Sipe went to Paul Hackett. Look, he goes, looks, coach, I'm 5'11", barely 6 foot. He goes, I can't see anything. First person in the brown and orange pants and jersey, I'm throwing. He goes, I don't care if it's the first read, the second read, the sixth read, and I'm getting it out. Hackett just would absolutely die. He goes, he kept telling Chad, don't be like Brian. Do your progressions. But Sipe was great. San Diego State's finest. Great player. Obviously
I
in our
mean,
in our Hall of Fame.
he saved he revitalized the franchise from the mishaps of Mike Phipps of his injuries, his shoulder injuries, and we could talk about that at another time. But we put all our
Look
put
how we
all
traded
our
we traded Paul Warfield for his rights. I mean, that tells you all you
for
need to know. Good
Mike
Lord.
Phipps, and that didn't work out. And then Brian Sipe basically out beat him out, and
He and
guy
Donald
from
Mays,
San
remember him? Dr. Donald Mays. You remember him?
Diego, he was a dentist,
Yes,
yes,
he was a dentist, had the glasses.
right. And Sipe just the 80s were just electric for Cleveland Browns organization. Though we didn't get to that big Super Bowl Sunday, it was a great ride. I enjoyed every bit of it, and just we can't merely mention it without Brian Sipe. So we've had three players in the history of Cleveland: LeBron James, who's a NBA player, MVP. We have Brian Sipe, who's NFL Player of the Year, and then Jim Brown, NFL MVP. So that's three. So that's kind of the crowd that Brian Sipe's hanging around with in the city of Cleveland.
And the only thing is
He's
Burnt,
in
and
between.
we'll talk about BK later, but he was AFC Offensive Player of the
Right.
Year
We'll talk.
in '86.
Right. We'll have plenty. I just for those, a lot of us know Bernie, and just some of us just don't know how good that cardiac cake team was, and
They
it
were
was
great.
always the spark. The spark was um, Brian Sipe. So Brian Sipe's number 8. Then we'll go to just seeing this guy. He was on a couple commercials Monday night when we played the Baltimore Ravens. Lost a lot of weight.
Oh man.
Selling. He's a sponsor for some car dealership here. So before we go on, I forgot to tell Steve, but it looks like we should have a sponsor. We should have a sponsor coming up soon. A local brewery in Elyria. I don't want to name it. Still working on it. Having some conversations with him. We have to get a little bit more solidified. So spread the word about Brothers from the CLE, and we'll be looking for our first sponsor. And Steve is also has a beverage sponsor that he's working on.
I
But
am.
if you're interested in sponsoring Brothers from the CLE, let us know, and kind of give us some ideas of what you think we should go talk about. After we do this show, and we will talk about the Cleveland Browns playoff run. Hopefully, it won't be a month from our next show. So we're gonna go with Joe Thomas, number 7. Joe Thomas, the rock on the left side of our offense. Though he played on some lackluster teams,
One winning season.
the rock,
One winning season. He had a
rock,
winning season his rookie
a
year and
rock,
never had one again.
a rock, a rock on the left hand side. I remember it was either Chris Carter or Keyshawn Johnson. He's on the NFL Today. He's like, well, you better put your best pass rusher over here. He said, because you ain't getting nothing over there. Ain't nothing happening over
He's
there.
unbelievable.
So Joe Thomas, Wisconsin Badger, during the NFL draft, Joe went on a fishing trip
Went
and
fishing.
found out when he got home that he was drafted by the Cleveland Browns. So Joe Thomas, number 73, he will undoubtedly be our next Hall of Famer
3 more
and
years.
have his Brown
3 more unless
have his
Clay gets
Brown
in there.
statue.
Unless Clay gets in there. 10,000 consecutive snaps.
Browns
10,000. Wow. You're gonna be
Brown statue in Canton right down 77. So go ahead, take it off Joe Thomas, Steve.
yeah, so you're talking about he had 10 years with us, 9 years Pro Bowl, 7 of those years first team All Pro, all first 9 years. He's one of only like 2 players in the league's history. He and I think Anthony Munoz and somebody else that had that 9 straight years. Has to go in the pantheon as maybe if he's not the greatest left tackle ever, he's top 2 or 3 along with Munoz and maybe some of the old school people. Just did everything. Great feet, great hands, very athletic. Was a great basketball player in high school, um, and it's really taken us the last 3 years to get him um, his spot solidified with Jedrick Wills and unbelievable technique, stronger than you would think. Wore the baggy pants, but great player, and you got to love him because he's still such a big Cleveland Browns fan. And he does some stuff with the Cleveland Browns network, but he's on social media and everything, talking about how much he loves Cleveland. Not from Cleveland, but he's a Cleveland guy, in his heart. And I know he's living back in Wisconsin now because of his young kids. I think at some point he'll be back in Cleveland and part of the organization. Really firmly believe that.
Joe Thomas, number 7. Then we're gonna go with number 6. We mentioned him already earlier today. Um, he's on what it's the veterans list.
No, no, no,
Um,
regular list. Regular list.
regular, still regular list. No, I'm not number 6. He's
Yeah,
on the
number 6.
veterans list.
Right.
Clay Matthews.
Clay Matthews. And you're talking about somebody that all-time leader, I think went ahead of Luke Groza in games played for the Browns. Second in sacks with the Browns. Very versatile player. I mean, unbelievably versatile player. And you got to understand, he would have had more sacks, but his position, the way they did it, we had Chip Banks. So they kind of alternated, so he couldn't be Lawrence Taylor all the time and just, whatever. He had to be Lawrence Taylor and part Wilbur Marshall or Harry Carson. Had to go back and thing. And he should be in Hall of Fame with his brother Bruce. And had a great interview today. We'll pump up Bernie's podcast, Bernie's World on the Land on Demand. He did an hour interview with Bernie Kosar yesterday, and it's being played on KNR Saturday morning at 8, but you can listen to it on the Land on Demand. You get to pay for that, but should be in the Hall of Fame, no question. And we talked about the draft.
Real quick, Steve, about Clay Matthews. What's the obstacle of him getting into the Hall of Fame?
Man, I don't know. He has never made it out of this round that he's in. So he's in the final 15. He's never made it to the point where actually vote on. And I statistically, he's got better statistics than Junior Seau, a bunch of the guys. And Junior Seau was a great player, but if you look at his statistics, I mean, unbelievable. Forced fumbles, interceptions. He's in the top 5 to 10 in the history of the league. I don't understand it. I mean, they keep saying, well, because he played for so long. But my God, he was just a great. His statistics are better than Jack Ham. Is it because Jack Ham won 4 Super Bowls? I mean, I don't know. I don't know why he's not in at least he should be given the shot to let Grossi stand up there in front of the writers and say, and Mary Kay Cabot, because those are the 2 Browns representatives, and say, this is why he should be in. It's absolutely insane. And you hear people that talk that played against him.
So Steve,
It's
hold on, Steve. So is he still isn't there a senior or a veterans
but he's still in the
list? Is he when
no,
he's
he's
still in the regular? Okay,
yep. So
okay.
he's in the
So there's
final
a lot of
15.
okay. He's in the final 15, and how many do they end up?
5 to 7.
Okay, 5 to 7. So his name is he's closer than he's ever been,
Yep.
and maybe with the emergence of the Cleveland Browns, maybe we can get him
You know
in
what?
there.
You're
Number
right.
57. Amen. Um, the other thing is too. So his dad was in the NFL.
Yep.
His brother Bruce
Yes.
was for the Houston Oilers. Love and Blue. Uh, they played together. Then also Clay's son
Yep.
and what did Bruce's son? Two of Clay's sons made the league, right?
2 of Clay's,
Two of Clay's sons,
3 of Bruce's. You're talking
right?
about
Uh,
3
Clay
generations.
Clay Matthews Jr. had a Super Bowl ring with the Green Bay Packers, I believe.
Correct. Yep.
Right? Yeah, okay.
One of
So
Bruce's son played for the Philly or not Philly for the Eagles, and then he had another one that played for the Falcons, left tackle. I
right,
don't know where he's at now. And then he had another son. So yeah, and then Clay had another boy
right.
that played at Oregon. Because
So they talk they
you're talking about that USC team with Clay Matthews, and then they had the other guy that went to the Texans, great linebackers, and we had a chance to draft him and just not once but twice and just passed him over. Made no
never
sense.
he always wanted to play the Cleveland Browns. They got pictures of him riding his big wheel off in North Ridgeville. They lived in North Ridgeville in a modest split level, and Clay drove that bug. Shows pictures of Clay Jr. On the front of the on the strike line too when they went in Clay strike was it 1981 strike.
Yep.
Clay was just a little guy riding his big wheel. So we talk about the real quick. We talk about the Mannings of the NFL, but the Matthews, man, they maybe not by Super Bowls, but got them by number of players.
Yeah, all
So
big
Clay
time.
Matthews, big NFL family. Um, let's hope he gets in. Let's hope he gets the NFL Hall of Fame. We're down in Canton. So Clay Matthews is number 6. Then we'll go with number 5. Like I said earlier, I'm not a big baseball fan, but I would say I'm an Indians fan. And so I don't he made everything seem so easy. Like he could go out there and just do the things that he
And
did.
fun.
And he was just fun to watch. Sometimes it just seemed like he did the impossible. I mean that you wouldn't know it unless you went out there and tried to field balls like this guy. So Omar Vizquel is number 5 in our top 20 all-time uh, best players Cleveland history from 1970 to 2020.
But
Steve, go ahead and take it away. I know he had several gold gloves. Just a magnificent player. A lot of people say, well, I don't care what the sport is. I don't know much about soccer, but I can turn soccer on and it'll take me a little bit to find the elite players. If you came from another country and you just watched baseball in the 90s in Cleveland,
oh
this
man,
guy just catch your eye with his flair and his ability to do the impossible. Omar Vizquel, number 5 of the Cleveland Indians.
you're talking about somebody who had over 2,800 hits, over 600 steals, 11-time Gold Glover, 7 of those with the Indians, highest fielding percentage in the history of baseball for a shortstop. And at some point, he's got to get into the Hall of Fame. His statistics are every bit on par with Ozzie Smith of the St. Louis Cardinals, and he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He'll be the next guy out of the '90s teams. Obviously, Manny blew
How
it.
many Gold Gloves straight?
Oh,
How many Gold Gloves straight?
7. Oh, or excuse me, 8.
7?
8. 7 with us, 1 with the, Mariners before he was traded over here. Really, he was the missing
Okay.
part from '94 to '95. And what's funny, his second game with the Indians, he had 3 errors in 1 game, and I was there. It was freezing cold, and then he didn't have another error for like 120 games and won the Gold Glove and made one of the
How
best
many
plays
games?
at
How many games without an error?
120. Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he made one of the greatest plays ever in the hole there in game 6 that got us to game 7 against the Marlins. So,
Right.
to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And did the little things,
Yeah.
bunted, moved people over, stole the extra base, got or took the extra
That
base.
that play had something to do with home plate, right?
The one where, yeah, he was at the plate
Yeah.
against in
Right.
'97, and he acted like he was gonna bunt and pulled it back, got in the catcher's
Yeah.
way, catcher lost it. Um, what's his name? 17. God, I can't remember. Came in and scored. A guy we got with David Justice in the trade. So Marquise Grissom. Marquise Grissom come in and
Yeah.
score, and we beat the Orioles, who were favored over us. They had the best record in baseball that year. Best record in the American League for sure. So
Guess where I was at that night? I was at the Canton Football Hall of Fame Stadium, watched Kent McKinley play St. Ignatius. That's when Kent McKinley was rated number one. The offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots was the kicker. Two
McDaniels,
kids, huh?
Josh McDaniels,
Yeah,
he was the
yeah.
kicker. That's
Daniel's
classic.
dad was the head coach of
Yeah,
Kent McKinley
right.
at the time. They won the national championship along with the state championship. Was it Peterson that went on and win a national championship at Ohio State?
Will
And I
Peterson,
believe, yeah, I believe he won a Super Bowl with either the Patriots or the Packers. I'm not sure. So
Packers,
Peterson was on that team. Doss was on that team. Martin were on that team. They were all, and then
Jamar Martin,
uh
Jamar Martin,
yeah, and then what's the offensive coordinator of New England Patriots? What's his
Josh
name?
McDaniels.
McDaniel. Yeah, he went on to become a kicker at Kent State. So that team was loaded. That team was actually loaded. And then I just this is before this is we had the emergence of cell phones, and you just like I don't know, as a regular 3rd and 2, and I think Ignatius got a first down. You just heard this big roar, like, wait, what's going on?
It was the Indians.
And yeah, it is the Indians. So it's just great sports mode in Cleveland. So that's just my little tidbit here, man. Hey man, it's not too many degrees of separation with sports when it comes to you and I in Cleveland. We
No,
always seem to be entangled in it somehow. So we're going with number 5, Omar Vizquel, won 8 straight Golden Gloves, 7 with the Cleveland Indians. Just made you really enjoy baseball. Not too much more I can say about that. He was worth the ticket admission.
unbelievable.
So yeah, he was just I know everybody likes that home run. That's a great part thing of baseball, but Omar Vizquel was special. Uh,
Great player.
future future Hall of Famer. His future Hall of Famer. So we can go with number 4. Like like I said, some of this has to do with longevity, and then some of it also a lot of it has to do with just in that 95 in the core part of the lineup. I mean, man, that just I don't know much, but I know we had Eddie Murray, yeah, Eddie Murray, Albert Bell, this guy right here. Um,
Manny
man,
Ramirez,
I can't
Carlos
think of
Baerga,
man,
Paul Sereno.
Carlos Barrera, and then you put this guy at. He was when Albert wasn't there, he was 4. When Albert left, when Albert was there, he was number 5, and when Albert left, he was number 4. We got Jim Tomey. Cleveland Indians all-time home run.
All-time
Take it
leading
away.
home run
Take it away,
hitter,
Steve.
612 career home runs. Um, just he did it all. Just wishing 97 he'd cranked a couple more. We'd have won the World Series, but has to be in there. Got my hat out in the garage. It says Team Tomey, and on the back it says it don't mean a thing till we get that ring. Um, Great ambassador. Wish he had
Right.
never left. I think that he did not want to leave, in my opinion. I think Major League Baseball Players Association kind of forced him to take the Phillies deal because it was going to help everybody else, and he led the market.
A lot of politics.
A lot of
A lot of
politics.
politicking was going on.
Yep.
In that mid-90s, the same kind of the same story with Albert Bell. Though Albert Bell was kind of on an island as far as a personality, but it was the players were really pushing the owners about money, and rightfully so. They earned they baseball, especially in Cleveland, without the Cleveland Browns at mid-90s, man. I mean, we had a attendance record. I mean,
455
if
consecutive
Albert
sellouts.
if Albert and Jim Tomey, and it's like you guys might say, well, there's a big separation with Albert and Jim Tomey, but the thing is, it's about the numbers and longevity. And Albert wanted $9.2 million, and Cleveland Indians wouldn't pay it. He went to the Chicago White Sox for 10 million. Actually, really did nothing for the White Sox. So that's where the separation of Albert Bell and Jim Tomey, just from the outside looking in, is like, how can you separate them? But this is about Cleveland sports. And Albert had some great moments, but Jim Tomey, just his longevity, and you can't say anything. He's a home run leader in Cleveland Indians history, in the history of Cleveland Indians baseball.
Third in
He's
RBIs, or second or third.
he hit 600 home runs. Um, 600. He's in the 600 club of home runs in Cleveland Indian history. So, me and Steve really had to. I mean, we had a discussion, and we moved him around a little bit, but he's in his rightful place. He's number four. Jim told me number four. 600 plus home runs, all time home run leader in the Cleveland Indians history. I don't know how many years that is, but
105. Well, Indians were 105. Add when they were the
100,
Buckeyes and the Spiders. I don't know, 100 and
right,
whatever, 125
right.
maybe, 120.
So now we're going to just want to kind of recap the top 10. We had Kyrie Irving was number 10, Corey Kluber was number 9, Brian Sight number 8, Joe Thomas number 7, Clay Matthews number 6, Omar Vizquel number 5, Jim Tomey 4, and then the guy, our original list, we had him further down, and there was just no way I couldn't have this guy in my top 3. Um, what he did to become a Cleveland Brown alone. There isn't that many players out here in sports that want to come to Cleveland. Now, I know you can say some things about LeBron James, but he did find his way back home. There's not too many players like him and this guy right here. Did everything he could in school to get in the supplemental, for the Miami Hurricanes, played for Jimmy Johnson in Miami, a Youngstown boardman, Mahoney Valley native. Um, can't say enough about this guy. He's still great to listen to, even though he gets inside the numbers of baseball. Football. It's still great to listen to him. This is Steve's guy. Jim Brown's my guy.
BK.
This is Steve's the guy, number 19, BK, Bernie Kosar, number 3, led us to 3 AFC championships in the 1980s. Take it away, Steve.
You're talking about second in the history of the Browns and passing yardage, second in touchdowns, AFC uh, offensive player of the year in 86. You're talking about a stretch. 85 won the division. 86 won the division. 87 won the division. 88 wild card. 89 won the division. 4 of his first 5 years won the division and went to the playoffs. And in 3 of those years, went to the AFC Championship game. And then, got into some poor coaching and injuries. And, it started when Ernest Biner missed a block against Kansas City in 87, hurt his elbow. Um, Came back, I don't know, was ever really the same, broke his ankle. But you're talking about, and I think the difference between him and Sipe is Sipe had a 2 to 3 year window. Bernie had a 5 to 7 because he was still an awfully good player, 90, 91, even in 92. The year that he is actually released in 93, when he was released, the Browns were 7-3. And, whatever was going on with he and Belichick or whatever, went on to win a Super Bowl with the Cowboys. Only person in the history of football to throw a um, touchdown pass in the AFC Championship game, which he did in 3 different games, and NFC to Alvin Harper when he came off the bench. And people don't realize the year that he was released, Aikman got a concussion at the beginning of the AFC or the NFC Championship game against the 49ers. Bernie came off the bench and led him to that game. And that's why Billy or Jimmy Johnson, I don't know if you remember this, called a timeout with 5 seconds left in the game against the Bills, put Bernie in so he could get a statistic. So Bernie has statistics of playing in the Super Bowl, 1 carry -2 yards or whatever, but he wanted to get Bernie in the game. So you have to put him in here. Plus, he has one of the greatest songs ever named after him, the Bernie Bernie super song. I don't know as good as 12 Days of a Brown's Christmas, but Bernie's just a legend. And I know some people were having a discussion. They were trying to tell some people that weren't from Cleveland that honestly, and I think they're right when they talked about this, as big as LeBron James is for those years when because we're a Browns town. He was not bigger than Bernie Kosar. Just was not. And you're talking about he was dating Elle McPherson, manipulated the supplemental draft so he could come to the Browns, and
Yes, sir.
he did everything. I mean, manipulated it, did it, and he wanted to come and still is living outside of Cleveland, working with the Browns. He's got every game. Like he says, he ends every interview he does. What's he say, Rich?
You matter.
Go Browns. Exactly. So yeah, he's to the T. He's got that Super Bowl ring for the Cowboys, but he's a Cleveland Brown.
Cleveland Brown through and through. That's really what just he's in the heart of Cleveland because he went to supplemental, finished up with his finance degree in 3.5 years, and got himself in the supplemental draft so the Cleveland Browns could draft him. It's kind of can't really think of any athlete in any other city that did that. So
They changed the
you know
rules.
how we
They
care
changed the
about our own.
rules. You changed the rules.
Yeah, like Bernie Kosar is one of our own. I mean, you can't say that for any of the great players. I mean, Joe Montana's from where Pittsburgh, and I mean, great. I mean, they're great players, but they weren't they didn't play for their hometown,
Right.
and they didn't manipulate the system to come and play for the town. And he wasn't. Oh, I want to go to glitzy, the Cowboys, or I want to go down in the Sun or the Dolphins. He wanted to come here, man,
Wanted to come home.
and
Still here.
we're just gonna love him for it, man. And he's still hanging around. Had a few setbacks, and he as a Clevelander fought back, and he's doing very well now. We'll love to hear him on the telecast, and he's on with Rizzo and Aaron Goldhammer. I listened to him last week. Um, we fell a little short to the Ravens, but and really breaks down Baker Mayfield's performance and the things that he has to do, and then just he can explain what the coach is trying to do to Baker, really simplifying the game, really um, leaning on Baker's strengths, really,
Exactly. Yep.
just and so we looks like we got the coaching fit. We're currently it's Thursday night. I'm watching the Raiders and the well, I was going to say the San Diego Chargers, the LA
What's the
Chargers, which
score?
is it's 0-0. So we're going for the Chargers. We really need the Raiders to lose, and then we knock off the Giants Sunday night, live on Sunday Night Football. The world's team.
World's
So
team.
another thing before. So Bernie Kosar is number 3, BK. Um, Steve's got all statistics, and all the statistics are fine. That's part of the performance. That's part of our list. But BK just brings more to that, more than that.
Yep.
He just brings more than just statistics. I feel like he's just one of us,
You know
and
what's you know what's great
can't
about
say that for everybody. That's
you know what's great about those teams, even beyond the Sipe years, because I don't think they're like this. You're talking about those 86,
right,
87, 88 Browns. They still hang out together.
right,
I mean, I think it was
right,
last year we played somewhere on the West Coast, and there's like 15 of them all together.
right,
Clay, Bernie,
right,
Slaughter, who's a preacher, which is interesting.
right.
Langhorne, Mac, Biner, Matt Barr, uh, Michael Dean Perry was there because remember he came in '88. So you're talking about Felix Wright. Thank you, Felix, for following me on Twitter. Hope you love. I forgot to mention you in the '87, '88 Browns, but you had some great years. God bless you. Number 22 was a
Yeah,
really good free safety.
number 2.
Um,
Right.
Hanford, Minnie, Ozzy, which is we're segueing. Um,
Yeah,
you're talking, and they still are together, man. I mean,
right,
they're still Bob Golick. Forgot about him. Um,
right.
Cody Rising,
Great.
great teams.
Oh, wow. Wow. What about Mike Babb? Remember Mike
Yeah,
Babb? He
the
went to the
Barbarian. You remember
yeah,
that?
watched,
Conan the Barbarian.
I remember I sat in the same section with him and watched a playoff game, and he got traded to the New England Patriots and got released and came right back and bought a ticket, sat in the stand, 7-0. Uh, Forget it,
Chargers.
7-0 San Diego Chargers.
Nice.
But uh, before we go to the top two, and I know you already know what one of the top two is, and if you know anything about Cleveland, you should know the top. You should know the top two, not just the top one. But um, we Steve redid um, the 12 days of Cleveland Browns Christmas and put in the current players. And so currently, Lorraine County's own Little Lex is in the studio remixing it and getting it produced. So what we'll do is when she gets the performance together, we'll just put it on our YouTube channel. So Little Lex, look for her. And then like I said earlier, we've got a alcohol beverage, a new brewery in Elyria. I don't want to say the name yet. We're looking for them to sponsor. Also, Steve has a performance beverage that we're looking to sponsor us down the road. We're also looking for anything athletic, um, whether it be a gym, a car dealership, anything. We look forward to. Believe me, we'll give you plenty of shout outs. Um, so, without further ado, finish up this list. We're trying to finish this up in an hour. Um, he's the wizard, number 82, Alabama, played for Bear Bryant.
Bear Bryant said he was the greatest player ever he coached.
Might have been Bear Bryant's first black captain.
I think he was.
Um, broke a lot of barriers at college level, the NFL level, and even in the managerial level in the NFL. Sorry that he had to leave to accomplish that. I believe I asked Steve this, and I posted on Cleveland on Facebook. Was he a better general manager or a better player? Ozzie the Wizard Newsom.
Yeah.
Ozzie the Wizard Newsom, number 82, Cleveland Browns. Go ahead and answer that question, Steve. Is he a better general manager or a better player?
Probably
It's
general
great.
manager. He won two Super Bowls.
2 Super Bowls, drafted 3 Hall of Famers.
You're talking about
Ogden, Reed, and
Ray Lewis.
who's
Ray Lewis?
Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis.
Yeah, you're talking about when
And he was a great player,
when
a great tight end,
when he
a
retired,
great tight end.
when he was retired, he was all-time leading receiver for tight ends over Kellen Winslow Jr. or excuse me,
Right,
senior.
right.
And it kind of upsets me when they talk about great tight ends now and they talking about Kelsey and all these guys. Ozzy's the one that started it. Ozzy and Sam
Right.
Rutigliano. They,
Yeah.
they
What was he started as a receiver? He was at a
right.
receiver, and Sam Rutigliano said, "You can be a good receiver in this league. You'll be a great tight end."
And that's what, and then, we used him. And then Winslow, I mean, I think they were both at the same time. I personally think Ozzy was a little bit better because he actually could block. Winslow didn't block. But you're
Right.
talking about at one time, not only was the all time leading receiver for tight ends, he also was second in the history of the NFL for receptions and at least one reception in games. He went over 100. Um, was a part of, he's the one generational. He and Clay Matthews, the one that went through the SIPE into the Bernie years because he and Clay were the only ones who were involved in both. But boy, great. You're right. He probably didn't want to go to Baltimore, but what was he going to say? No. He was going to say no. Um, uh,
At
uh,
that time, they didn't give African Americans jobs as general
he was
managers.
it.
And first thing he told Art Modell, "I'm going to go with you," and he gave him a general manager job. And their first overall pick for that rat bird organization was Ray Lewis. He should have been ours.
Yep.
Ozzy would
And
have picked
Ogden.
Ray Lewis, and then and Ogden, two Hall of Famers, man, not just Pro Bowlers, Hall of Famers. Um, Bittersweet there. Still respect Ozzy, great man, great family man. Um, can't do it too much better than him, man. I don't know how you do it. And the thing is, back then, the battle between him and Kellen Winslow Jr. But like I always thought was, how many cold December
None.
Sundays did Kellen Winslow catch? He played in damn San Diego.
Right.
Ozzy kept those numbers up in the freezing cold, man. You ever catch a ball? I don't care what kind of ball. I don't care if it's a kickball, football, baseball, basketball, and you just hear that ping. It's like concrete, man, catching a ball. Ozzy was catching that from Bernie Kosar and Brian Sight, where I mean air raid over there with Air Coryell,
Perfect
you know,
weather.
with perfect weather. Dan
Perfect
Fouts, I
fields
mean,
too.
that Air Coryell could have never worked in Cleveland. And Ozzy, he he took full advantage of everything that was in front of him. So we're gonna finish up with Ozzie Newsome. He's number 2, the Wizard. Uh, he's our last Hall of Famer in Cleveland. Um, you can for this list, you can say a lot of things, but great football player, but probably a better man. Uh,
Probably right.
so Ozzie Newsome is number 2. So everybody knows who number 1 is.
We don't even have to
There's
even
so
talk
many things.
greatest player,
You
but
don't
maybe
even have to really, you know. I don't know how many stories I can tell you about this kid. I mean, I just call him a kid because we started following him at St. V. Um, I went and watched him play Firelands, which is in the southwest corner of Lorain County, just south of Vermilion, north of Oberlin, if you know anything about Lorain County. And he St. V put 100 on him. But the thing about really, and I'm guilty of it too, really just didn't understand LeBron James, Drew Joyce Jr., and what was it? Who was the other kid
Jay
that
Cotton. Jay Cotton.
uh
Or
and
Sean
then
Cotton.
and Travis Romeo, what was it, Romeo
Romeo
Travis?
Travis.
Romeo Travis, right? So LeBron goes into the game and he goes and they take him out and everybody claps, right? And Drew Joyce takes his seat. And Drew Joyce Jr., the coach's son, to take his seat. And LeBron says, "All right, man, next time you do that to me." He's just like he was a 16, 17-year-old kid. Just didn't realize this was at Barberton. Watched him play in the sectional final against Firelands. It was just like all this weight was on this kid at the age of 16. And he was just like no different than Robert Reed, Angelo Sarno, Steve Girdle, myself fighting over a bench or a seat on the bench at our basketball game at Brookside High School. He was just a kid. So for him only to make really one mistake to me, and that's because we're diehard Cleveland fans, was the decision.
It's the way he did it. It's not even the
We
decision itself.
Right. Yeah, we can talk about all the basketball stuff, but you can talk about Michael Jordan all you want, but Michael Jordan
Didn't do
didn't
doesn't
have
do.
this
No, and not under
doesn't
the
have
microscope.
this greatness from day
One.
one.
Nope.
No gambling, um,
And gives back to the community
no
like no other. Period. He does.
right.
I
I
mean, stuff he's
promise
doing this week
program.
with the bus and all that.
Uh-oh,
Yeah.
uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Which McCall just pulled up car. He just pulled his groin. He just pulled up and ran on the sidelines. He just snapping off his helmet. He's down in the corner. It's
Good.
breaking my heart. I hope he's okay. Wink, wink. But back to LeBron. It's just, and Steve will talk about all his basketball, but I just want to just his I Promise program now, his we are family village that he's building. A kid that really never stayed in a place for 6 months, just giving back to the city of Akron. Really change. You'll look at Akron 20 years from now, and you'll have so many well-educated people based on LeBron
Ron
James.
James.
It just doesn't have to be African Americans, anybody, and it's going to be so educated. Um, it's going to be on Atlanta. It's going to be what is up in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. It's just going to be so many educated kids that 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 didn't have this opportunity. Um, and that was my story. I was like, man, this kid he's a kid. He sold out. He sold out at back that time. It was the Gund Arena. He sold out. I seen him CSU. He played Brush. I mean, he sold that place out. It was $5 tickets going for $50 up
Sold
and
out the
loud.
convo. Sold out the
So,
convo when they played Oak Hill
right.
and Carmelo.
I mean, he
Sold out St. John's, sold out
traveled
yes,
everywhere, and we're not even talking about his college, his pro career. Um, and then Austin Carr. We called LeBron James' name when we got that ball, and AC just start crying, and that just lets you know there's just a tie in Cleveland from the people in the sports. AC said, "Hey man, I'm comfortable as a man." He said, "Finally, we get our shot." And that's just what we had just been waiting for. And basically the king arrived. We've been literally waiting our whole life.
he brought what he
Our
said he would
whole
do.
life.
He did it. And,
You know?
he's going to go down as I think he's the greatest player to ever play. When he retires, he'll be I think he's going to come close to passing Jabbar. Depends on how many more years he wants to play. He's going to be top 5 in assist. 4 rings, maybe more. I don't nothing you can say. Humanitarian, only person to be Sports Illustrated cover Sportsman of the Year 4 times now. He's got it again this year. 2-time
Right.
MVP with the Cavs. 4-time overall. Going to be the all-time leader in All Stars played, All Stars started. Um, that's it, man. He's just number one. It's not close.
It's not even close. And just he and another thing is too, during the NBA finals, Jim Brown's there. Jim Brown's my cat. I never got to see him play, but um people just talked about Jim Brown, and Jim Brown's my hero, even though I never got to see him play. Really can't explain it. Just people that were older than me just talked about Jim Brown. Got to see majority of of his films, and then he when he bowed
He does the right
to
thing.
Jim.
He does the right
He
thing,
did the
doesn't he?
right thing. He respected the crown, and Jim knew that he was passing it on. And that just that I don't, you can't be from Buffalo, you can't be from Erie, PA, you can't be from Indianapolis, Indiana. You got to be from here. That just gave me goosebumps, and I was just choked up and just teared up a
Awesome.
little bit. That's just his special, and that's I don't care. That's before tip off, man,
No,
and
no, I
that's
agree.
just because he's from here.
He's from
He's
here.
from here.
He's from here.
He's Bernie Kosar, LeBron James. He's from here, and he's just so well respected. I don't want to talk about none of the negative stuff when he went down there, and that was real emotional. Me and Steve and his boys, we watched that day. It um
Horrible. But he came back. You
no
know,
no no
I don't really root for him now, but I don't root against him. But
yeah
I love what he's
yeah.
doing, especially in the
I,
community. So
but it's good. You know, I mean, we could probably do an hour show on him,
we may.
but we might do that. We just talk about all the
Tell
great
stories.
things he did. Went down my his junior year. Cincinnati Roger Bacon beat him in the state finals. They put three guys on him, and
He
the
didn't the
other
next year
kids
though.
just
He took care of him the next
clearly
year.
were clearly afraid to shoot. That's just all it was. Um, so I was kind of ticked off about that, not at LeBron, but at all the other kids. So he went 3 out of 4 state championships. I think St. V has won 7 or 8. He won 3 of them. Some great players come out of there, done great things for St. V, along with the city of Akron, and just we had a lot of things going on in the community about Black Lives Matter, um, and then the young man that got murdered in Florida. He steps outside of just basketball and he addresses some of the issues. And then they were talking about not playing. So LeBron James reaches out to number 44,
President
President
Obama.
Obama, and they can have a stronger voice by playing. So that's just the type of pipeline that he has to some of the most strongest and most respected people in this country. So,
Number one.
number one, the king, LeBron James. He's number one from from Akron, from the west side of Akron. Uh, what else can you say? It's just a
Nothing.
great list, and he brought a championship home.
Which
You
we
know
haven't had. That alone probably puts him number one,
that puts him number
honestly.
one. Came down. What do you call it, Steve? What's the date? 3-1. What is it?
Oh.
What he said 3.
Oh God.
What date is it?
I can't even
March 1st, right?
March 1st.
It's March 1st.
Yeah.
We got 3-1.
3-1 day.
That cracked me up. Rich, you know what day this is? Oh, what?
3-1.
Like,
Classic.
as soon as he said that, that's just you maybe, or if you're only from Cleveland, when someone says 3-1, it's just
You
something
know.
that you just know.
You
And
know.
I just hope as we continue this podcast, Brothers from the CLE, you just young and old, you can just tie into just some of the phrases, the cardiac kids, 3-1, Ozzy, I mean, BK, Mighty Dog, Top Dog, just the MDP sandwich, just all the things on this list. Throwing cheese on a basketball court. This is just all the
The
unique
stuff that
things that
happens.
happen in sports. Right. I don't care. We only won one championship. In our sports history, I never felt like a loser. Never felt like we were losing.
No,
So
we're not.
I don't think we beat our. I don't think we got underneath our hour, Steve.
No, I know.
But as
Graham's
again,
gotta
it
get
was
on Graham's gotta get on his computer. He's gotta do his work. So we're out of here.
all right, man. I sorry, Graham. Hey, Steve. Until next time, brothers from the CLE.
Gonna see you.
Talk to you
Next
soon.
one, maybe preview the Cavs, right? Like I told you.
We're gonna do. let's do our next ones, guys. Brothers from the CLE community. The next ones we'll do half. We'll talk about the Cavs draft and talk about the upcoming season with the Cavs, and then we'll also talk about in the second half of that show the run of the Cleveland Browns playoffs.
Yep, out of here. Go Browns.
All right, later. Go Browns.